love you, and I don't need you to say it back. Um, so I was away for a while doing basically a really intense re-examination of my childhood and the way that I grew up in like a professional setting. It's called the Hoffman process, if you're curious. And it turns out I didn't like myself that much. It's sad looking back on it, but I think a lot of the stuff that I was doing, including YouTube and just patterns I had around self-worth and criticizing myself and dating, and it all kind of came from a base of not loving myself and not forgiving myself for mistakes that I've made in the past, or just being imperfect, basically. And now I can genuinely, authentically say that I love myself and I forgive myself. And through that, it seems crazy, but I can love everybody. Like, if you unconditionally love yourself, you can unconditionally love everybody, pretty much. It's kind of cool phenomenon that, like, if you genuinely love yourself and forgive yourself for any mistake, the whole world becomes like an opportunity for you to practice unconditional love and forgiveness. And it took a lot of hard work. I'm not going to talk about the nitty gritty, but there were a lot of lies that I believed about love in general. When my ex-girlfriend and I broke up, one of the things that she told me was that there's no such thing as unconditional love. Like, all love has conditions, like, in some way or another. Like, if you're a kid and your mom doesn't provide for you, you can't love her. Or, like, if you're in a relationship and, like, she thought that I wasn't, like, meeting her needs, that means I don't love her. And this idea of, like, unconditional love, like, I don't know anything about you watching this, but I love you anyway, because we came into the world even before we were born with the ability to unconditionally love. That's all babies know, is unconditional love and survival, basically. And then what happens is, when we grow up, we develop these ways to protect ourselves called patterns. And anyway, it really did a number on me, because I was questioning if I was stupid for believing in unconditional love, or if it was even real. And I now know that it's real, because I have it for myself. And just being able to sit here and say that is, like, so huge. I think if you doubt the existence of unconditional love, and I did before I went to this, it means that you have some sort of pattern, like some sort of survival strategy in your brain that doesn't allow you to feel it, because at one point you gave it and you were hurt, or something along those lines. And I get it. There's a lot of, like, toxicity out there. I still have patterns afterwards. I'm not a perfect saint. I was on a flight for, I'm coming off of, like, an 18-hour flight that got delayed. We had to, like, land in a different airport, and it was like, if you saw my other video, I was, like, next to multiple, like, obese people on the flight and stuff. But it was really good opportunity to practice, because people are generally really nice if you're nice to them, and if you just show that you're giving them unconditional love. You don't obviously, like, go up to everybody on the street and say I love you, but if you're choosing, I think that the best thing that you can do for the short time that we're here is to love unconditionally everybody and everything, because there's always a perspective that you can have unconditional love for yourself and others. And I have to say, like, I don't know if I already touched on this point, but, like, the only way that you can unconditionally love others is if you unconditionally love yourself first. That's how it works. So, like, if you don't love yourself, you can't be in a relationship where there's unconditional love. You can't have a friendship or a parental relationship or anything because there's no forgiveness. Like, if you don't love yourself unconditionally, it means you don't forgive yourself. Like, you think that there are aspects of you that are unlovable, and because of that, it affects your entire worldview. It skews your entire worldview. It's really interesting. So, like, and it's really changed me in a lot of ways, because I previously thought that, like, there are things that people do that are like, you're just irredeemable. Like, if you kill somebody, or if you do something that's like really messed up, you're unworthy of love, like you're unworthy of forgiveness. But no, because you just look at the history. Like, there are people who do horrible things and then they actually change. The only way that you can change from being in a horrible pattern is to love yourself unconditionally. And I recognize that, like, it's taken such a long time to get here. And it's led to another inconvenient truth, which is, if I'm going to be honest with you, I used to think that YouTube made me happy. YouTube doesn't make me happy. The only thing that makes me happy is unconditional love and forgiveness for myself, which flows through me and out towards others, and giving unconditional love and forgiveness to others. So the reason that I'm still posting is not necessarily because, like, YouTube is what gives me the love, but because YouTube is a platform by which I can give love to you and give forgiveness to you and be your friend and care for you. And, like, it's just a tool. And I think that that is why I'm going to be able to do this for my whole career and not burn out and not fall off and not anything. And I know that that's naive with 669 subscribers to say that, but as long as I keep that mindset of, like, YouTube does not make me happy. What makes me happy is giving unconditional love and forgiveness to myself, saying there's nothing you could do that would make me not love you, to myself. There's nothing you could do that would make me not forgive you, to myself. And then having the boundaries and the self-compassion for when I mess up. And then through that, giving all of that to you in my content. Like, it's beyond making you laugh or, like, making you happy with something. It's like, I want to change the world by giving unconditional love and forgiveness to billions. I don't want my kids or my kids' kids to have questions like my ex-girlfriend had about, like, whether or not unconditional love exists, because I want to be able to change the world through the content that I make, to the point where it's like everybody understands that unconditional love and forgiveness is real and it's for them. And I know that that's, like, seems like such a crazy goal, and it is. And also it seems like I'm being hippy-dippy. It's like, it's not entirely hippy-dippy. Like, if you really think about it, unconditional love is the greatest product in the world, because when you have unconditional love, you don't need anything. You're whole. And so if I can give wholeness to people through stories, through videos, I'm still figuring this out. That's what Mr. Beast does in a lot of ways. I like when he gives somebody the money, they're feeling unconditional love because their pattern of, like, avoidance or, like, pain is gone. So I think that, like, PewDiePie had it, like, this idea of, like, I'm going to be your friend and I'm going to show up for you every single day and I'm going to love you no matter what, and I'm going to give you the bro fist no matter what. He had it. All the big YouTubers have it, and I'm so happy that I feel this way, because, sometimes it's a lonely job doing YouTube a lot of the time, especially if you don't have employees. I'm lucky to have amazing friends who I can talk to, but, like, for a long time I didn't. And you have to have something to keep you going in times like this. And, like, I left a pretty good job in Hollywood to do this, and Hollywood is a lot more, like, structured. There's a lot more of a hierarchy. Like, I could have gotten a pretty well respected assistant's job, which would have led to a position in a writer's room, which would have led to eventually being a TV producer and stuff like that. But the reason I was drawn to YouTube is because YouTube is the only platform where there's no gatekeeper. I don't think a lot of, like, special interests, like, brands, like marketing, whatever, have a lot of interest in people feeling unconditional love and forgiveness for themselves. Maybe that's kind of a cynical worldview. I'm sure, like, if you ask anybody at the company, they'd be like, yeah, of course I want people to love and forgive themselves. But I think the way that the economy is set up and the way that just, like, you do marketing and you get people to buy is you kind of have to make them feel like there's a lack. You have to make them feel like, oh, I really need to buy that Feastable bar. And I'm not saying I won't sell a product, but, like, I really need to buy that Feastable bar because then I'll feel good about myself. It's like I want my free videos, like for some kid in India or wherever, to be able to put one of my videos on and feel unconditional love and forgiveness for himself. And this is like really advanced. Like I can't count. Like it's really hard to do to create a piece of media that can like actually make somebody love and forgive themselves. And like it's scary. Like I'm scared thinking about it, but at the same time, like I feel up for it. Like I want you to feel the love and forgiveness for yourself, and I want to work hard to do that. And it resonates so much more for me than like being the number one YouTuber, which is like it would be awesome to be the number one YouTuber. I'm not saying I don't want that, but the only way that I would want to be the number one YouTuber is if my videos give unconditional love to every single person who watches it, because this isn't like a business strategy move. I genuinely want people to feel love and forgiveness for themselves. Like I'm really passionate about it. It's like really connected to who I am and my purpose. But like I strongly think that if you can make a product that can make the consumer feel unconditional love and forgiveness for themselves, they'll come back again and again. So it's not entirely like altruistic. I'm not like dedicating my life to building houses in Africa or anything. But if you can afford it, do the Hoffman process. I got it as a gift, but like it's pretty expensive. Like it's out of most people's price range, and like I recognize that. But self-love and self-forgiveness is not something that's exclusive for like people who can afford expensive retreats. Like it is a practice, and it is just like, even if you don't believe it, saying to yourself like, I love you unconditionally, I forgive you unconditionally, there's nothing you could do that would make me not love you. I have self-compassion for when my patterns get in the way of my self-love. And I have clear boundaries that support the giving and receiving of self-love and love to others in my life. Like if you can just say that and you can act in such a way, you really can't act your way into thinking something. You can't think your way into acting something. That's like the mistake. People think like, oh, if I think that I'm a billionaire, I will be a billionaire. And there's like another thing about like feeling, which is like law of attraction, which we can talk about later, which I think that is actually real. But like thinking something doesn't necessarily like make you believe something, but acting in such a way that takes care of yourself and shows yourself self-love with like positive commitments to like forgiving yourself, loving others, forgiving others. It's like all the greatest characters and all the greatest stories have that. You know what I mean? Like Jesus has that. Like all the enduring, it's like almost magic. And so if you can try and cultivate self-love and forgiveness in your life, I promise it's so worth it. It's kind of weird to say, and I know I was just trashing my ex-girlfriend, not really trashing her, but you know what I mean, and talking about her, and I don't do that on here for the most part. Like all of my relationships with women in my entire life were not based on unconditional love. They were based on conditional love. I was using romance like a drug. I needed it to be like a roller coaster because I didn't love myself. And so the lie that I believed was like, there was a girl at the retreat that I thought I had feelings for. And you're not allowed to date when you do this because it's very like intense, like psychological work where you're like it would be really bad if you dated because it would just like create so many negative patterns and whatever. But the moment that really stuck for me was I kept believing the lie of like conditional love is more passionate, more fiery, more guttural than unconditional love. But really, it's the opposite. Like, unconditional love is what we know how to do when we're babies. Conditional love is what happens when we have hormones raging, puberty, we don't like ourselves. It's like a lot more chaotic. And so, like, you really can unconditionally love and just glow with unconditional love. And it's like, I love you. There's no condition on that love. It just is. And have a very vibrant, beautiful life with romance, with all sorts of love in it. And I know that this is like very woo-woo, and like some of the more, I guess, goal-oriented people listening to this will kind of dismiss it. But I promise you, like, I was as goal-oriented as they come. I genuinely believe, like, oh, my happiness comes from completing goals, achieving tasks, like that sort of thing. That's a lie. Because the reason why you chase goals is to feel unconditional love and forgiveness for yourself. You construct mazes that you need to complete. Like, if I become the best YouTuber, I'll love myself. But really, if you start with the unconditional love and forgiveness first, you realize that it's all just ego, it's all just lies, and it's all just games, and it's not real. So the better thing is just to love yourself and forgive yourself genuinely, and like do the work to do that, whether it's in professional help or the Hoffman process, or like just even on your own, like acting yourself into being. And then on top of that, think like, okay, well, now that I love and forgive myself and love and forgive everybody, what am I going to do? How am I going to change the world? And that's my goal. I mean, we'll see. I didn't really talk about videos. I just made my I'm back video, which is like very loose, like easy coming back into it. I like just gotten off of a flight, so I didn't want to push myself. And then I made my how to get over a breakup sketch, which I really liked because it kind of has some of the stuff in it, like in the end chapter. But it's still like me, like it's still jokes, it's still story, it's still that sort of thing. And then obviously this podcast is my third video for the day. But yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. I genuinely, unconditionally love you guys, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.